But let's maybe quickly do some introductions. My name is Scott Ozorowski. I work in the Study Abroad office, and I'm the one who coordinates all of these first-year abroad programs. So for those of you that are thinking of applying and doing the program, I will be in close contact with you throughout the application process and after you've been accepted and are getting ready to do the program. And I do all of sort of the back-end logistics of helping plan everything. Barbara, why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Barbara Schaefer, and I am the faculty member of this course. This course has gone for 6 or 7 years, this particular course. And I also teach study abroad class right now. I'm teaching another one. And hopefully this will be informative. And please feel free when we're done with this little presentation to ask any questions you may have about the FY Abroad Ireland course. Carrie?
And at any point, you can throw something in the chat if you've got a question. You know, we're going to go through a little presentation, but we want this also to be very informal. So throw something in the chat, unmute yourself, and ask a question at any point.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'll be the staff professional for this trip. I work full-time here at the university in the Center for Teaching and Learning, but I also teach WRD 103 and 104. So if you haven't taken those, you can sneak in and see me there.
All right. And I'm going to turn it over in a second to Barbara, but I'll just give a quick sort of overview. And the people who are here maybe at very different points. Some of you may have already been starting or submitting your application. Some of you are just kind of learning more. But these first-year abroad programs are programs where you will take a focal point seminar, which is a required course for most first-year students. And as part of that focal point seminar, over spring break, you will basically travel abroad for about a week and a half with everyone in the class. So throughout the winter quarter, you're going to take, a normal class for the most part, where you're going to be learning all about this topic. But then over the break, you'll actually go abroad for an additional 2 credits. And that becomes the study abroad component that's tied to this focal point seminar class. There are some majors who don't require a focal point seminar, theater, music, some CDM majors in particular. If that's the case, you can still participate in this program and you can get credit for your experiential learning instead. Or honors students don't usually require a focal point seminar, but this does give credit for honors as well. It gives you your honors fine arts elective credit, or again, can be for your experiential learning. So yeah, but why don't I let Barbara kind of dig in, and we're going to basically go through sort of an overview of what the program is. I'm going to talk a little bit about application process and such, and then again, any questions you have along the way.
Right. So let me first say that here I am, faculty member who has taken many students. I mean, you can see that. I love to travel. And
there's Carrie.
And there's
I should have put those up when you were introducing yourselves.
That's okay. And here is a corner, and we are going to talk about travel literature. Actually, we stay right around the corner from this particular picture. And we look at, why do people travel? How does that relate to their identity, to their memories, to their own circumstances of what travel has to offer? And we look at, it's really called the Ireland. That picture that you're looking at right there is the one before.
Sorry about that.
You went the other way. Yeah, Scott's very nicely doing this for me. Go ahead, Scott, the next one. Okay, this is the castle we're going to stay in. I also have a subtitle for this course called Planes, Trains, and Different Ways of Living, right? That people in Ireland do. This is our castle, and we're going to have classic and contemporary pieces of travel writing, and we're going to read and write about the journey we're going to take to Ireland. And this is one of the places we're staying, a castle that has a ghost, by the way. So we like to talk about our ghosts. What?
You did not mention that before I signed up for this.
Yes, I did not mention that we have a ghost in our castle. Yes. Next.
All right.
So this is also, we're going to experience and retrace some of the very steps of travel writers. We're going to visit Dublin, Cork, and Galway. So we're going to take a train from Dublin. We're going to go down into Cork, and then we're going to take a bus up a van up to Galway, and we're going to stay in the coastal village, which is, this picture is sort of taken from there. Doolin is the trad music capital of Ireland, so we spend time staying in a bed and breakfast. That is, as opposed to the castle, we then have a bed and breakfast, and we go to a pub where there's a traditional music band. They play the Uilleann pipes and all sorts of wonderful music. It's a sing-along. You know, the Irish, not sure whether it's because there's a lot of rain or whatever, but their personalities, they are very, very welcoming to people, and everybody gets along, and it's a pub culture. And we're going on a literary pub crawl. So we do a lot with pubs and with interacting with the Irish. Next. So here's Kilmacduagh. This is an old monastery. We do historical sites as well. We go to Trinity College, the Cliffs of Moher, which was when we got a little confused, that introductory little banner that is on this site. That is the cliffs. Yep, they're the Cliffs of Moher. And if you can notice that little castle way up there, this is something I will tell you that students are able to go to the cliffs. And I will tell you, it's my least favorite day because unlike in this country, the guardrails are not as firm, and students like to scare the living daylights out of me by taking pictures that look like they're on the very edge of that. So but students do go up, and it's a wonderful day to just see the cliffs. And then back to Kilmacduagh, which is Ireland. If you don't know anything about it, it's really where many of the original, where the Catholic Church went and set up monasteries. And this is one of those early monasteries with ruins. We also have a guest lecturer in Galway as we go up there. And we see this is the remnant of early Irish history, and it is a beautiful country, the Emerald Green Island. And we write, and we do a lot of writing, and we reflect on this and what the meaning of travel is to each individual student. Next. And then this is the one class. As you see, one of them is Irish, so he's wearing his kilt, Ronan Morrissey. And this is our hotel in Dublin, actually. And everybody has a little Irish thing on them. We've had many groups. These groups are still in contact with one another. And many students have felt that this has changed their lives. Our goal of this trip is to get students to learn how to travel on their own. That is one of the goals of this trip. We have many goals, obviously content goals, but we also have personal growth goals and identity goals. And so students will be designing the itinerary. I put you into groups, and students design an interactive experience and an itinerary for a day. So students will decide what site we're going to visit, for example, in Dublin, and in Galway, and in Cork, and there's a group of students who has the castle. This is chosen randomly, draw out of a hat kind of thing of who your group is. And it's been very successful. The interactive programs have been very fun. We have a lot of contests. So we also go to William Butler Yeats's Tower, and the students had to write their own poetry, the group of students. They asked that was their on-site project. So they asked all the students to write little poems, and they were very funny. We went to a museum. we do scavenger hunts. Students do scavenger hunts, and we have winners who get little prizes. And students love these interactive experiences. And here are the names of students that you could contact. All of these students have been on the Ireland trip, and they have agreed to allow any interested student to contact them. So we can do the next one. Oh, and this is Ronan. He was the one in the tartan skirt, and he is willing to, he did a little video and has allowed us to just show it. So this is a student's view.
All right, let me get the right screen sharing things going here. I'm going to optimize it for the video.
Yeah, he came with his kilt, the whole deal.
All right, here we go.
Settle down, don't take a fit. You drank a demon straight from hell. You almost nearly won as well. You went the forward victory. The puked until you fell asleep. Like you rose the bench as well. These boots will never feel like you're crawling to an empty boat. For a goat from Mexico, because the steam was so cute. From the ashes, dragging milk, smelling like a salted dog. Back from hell where you belong.
How'd you like that? Wasn't that great? Yeah, Aaron, Ronan really took to heart doing the video. He, in fact, is a CDM student. We do have a lot of film, sometimes filmmakers from all the colleges. Students come and go on this trip. And by the way, not all are Irish, and you don't have to be Irish to look at the issue. We look specifically at Irish literature and their identities, but we ask students to reflect on their own backgrounds and their own identities. And in fact, we do a little paper on, you have to sort of look at your own background and process that in terms of identity and your own sense of self. So Scott, did you have some things you wanted to say, or?
Yeah, I'm going to get into just a couple slides about some of the logistical things. Before I do that though, Barbara, can you talk for just a couple minutes about sort of what's going to happen in the course in Chicago throughout the winter quarter, as opposed to the, kind of to set you up for that time when you're abroad during spring break?
Sure. So the course, as you saw, is travel literature. In order to understand travel literature, really honestly, you have to know a little bit of the history, right? So because most literature of place relates directly to the place. So the relationship between identity, memory, and place is what we explore in the class. We will be doing a little history, but we also look at historical travel literature to Ireland. And we will be reading literature and talking about travel writing and how to write. This is creative nonfiction. You don't have to be really, the nice thing about travel literature is that you have a topic already. You don't have to make something up in the same way that you do for fiction. You might use fictional techniques in explaining your own writing, or in doing your own writing, but you're going to talk about your own experiences. So in class, you'll be doing that. You'll also be put in a project group where you will devise our itineraries. And that comes at the end of the quarter. Each student will be in charge of a particular aspect as we're in Ireland. So we do a lot of preparation for the trip. You will also have a global hour, which Carrie can talk a little bit about. Carrie, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so I'll be kind of handling the global hour parts of this, which means working on more of the getting ready to travel part. So what does it look like to make travel budgets? What does it look like to know how to pack efficiently and be in a different country? What are kind of the logistics of those things? We'll cover how to be safe abroad, both physically and in our groups. What happens if you get sick? How do we take care of those things? So all of those logistical travel pieces, we're going to cover and set you guys up really, really well so that you're feeling prepared and feeling good about going as well. So we'll cover kind of the strategies and skills of what it looks like to be a good traveler as well.
The other thing I wanted to say is the class is meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4:20 to 5:50. So we try to find a time that's accessible to everybody. We are going to, hopefully, I was talking with Scott about this prior, hopefully we're going to have at least 2 modalities that we can work together. So if students occasionally have problems with time, we'll be able to work something out with some Zoom or things like that, because we understand how things have changed since COVID. And so even though we try to make it the best time, there are obviously things even at 4:20 to 5:50 that come. Classes are in Lincoln Park, primarily, however. I'm trying to think. Maybe we should see if there are any questions, Scott, before, or do you want to do yours first?
Let me kind of go into my little chunk for a minute, and then we can
definitely
take some questions. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, logistical things, how to apply. I know some of you have already started applications or may have submitted. Some of you may not have started that process at all. The application process is pretty straightforward. If you have not been on the FY Ireland program page yet, I strongly suggest that you go there and check it out. And actually, you know what? I'm going to show you how to navigate there right now. So let's just take a quick second and do that. If you go to the Study Abroad homepage, so Study Abroad homepage is right here. And on here, you can say search for DePaul programs. There are different ways you can search. You can kind of do some keywords and things, but also if you just scroll right down here, there's a whole little tile that says first year abroad programs. So view the programs. And then here are the 2 spring break programs. Here is Ireland. And that takes you right to the site. So on this site, it has all the detailed information about the program, academics, travel information, cost information, some updates from past students. So lots of detail there. But on this overview page, you see right here the link that says apply now. And so just click that, and that will get you started with being into our Study Abroad application portal. You can then see everything that's in there. You can work on your application and save it and come back to it later until you're ready to submit it. But it's pretty straightforward. The first thing you're going to do is an application questionnaire. It's a handful of questions that are just pretty easy about why do you want to do the program? What are some things that you're excited about? How does it fit with your plans here at DePaul? Things like that. and then you'll submit that. We also require one online recommendation from a DePaul professor. We know that your new students at DePaul may not know a lot of professors yet. Oftentimes your Chicago Quarter, Discover, Explore professor or staff professional can be somebody who will do that recommendation for you, or if someone from one of your other classes can, great. If not, you really don't have a DePaul person that would be good, you can have a high school teacher or a high school counselor be the one who does that for you. They do not have to write you a big, long recommendation letter. All you do in the application is you put their email address in there, and it sends them a little online link where they answer a handful of questions. So it's pretty straightforward. You put their email in, they do it online, and it's good to go. Once you have submitted your application, you're then going to also have a brief interview with Barbara and Carrie. And usually those are done in small groups. Not something to stress about. It's just 15, 20 minutes with a group of a few students getting to know each other a little bit. So it's very straightforward. But once you have submitted your application, as the application deadline of November 1st is coming up, be making sure to check your email, because you're going to get an email about when to schedule your time to do that interview. And that is something that you have to do in order to be able to be accepted to the program. But you want to make sure to get your application in before November 1st. Don't save it to the last second. Get started now. Just get it in and get it submitted, and then you're good to go. In terms of scholarships, we do have scholarship funding for these programs, and I'm going to talk about cost on the next page. There is no separate scholarship application. As long as you apply for the program by November 1st, you will automatically be considered for our General Study Abroad scholarships and our first-year scholarship funding. There is a chance that if we get close to November 1st and there are still some potential spots available, that we may extend the application deadline a week or two, but that scholarship deadline does not extend. So if you want to be considered for scholarships, you have to submit your application by November 1st. But like I said, there's no separate scholarship application. These scholarships range from $1,000 to almost the full cost of the program. And we do our best to try to provide as much funding as we can to the students who need it. And then you get notified if you've been accepted to the program, and then if you got a scholarship and how much that's for in mid to late November. So basically what happens is you apply to the program, we will let you know about an acceptance, and very soon thereafterwards, we also let you know if you got a scholarship and if you did, how much it's for. And then you'll have a moment where sort of by late November, beginning of December, you need to let us know if you want to move forward and do the program or not. Just applying to the program doesn't commit you. There's no application fee or anything like that. So if you're still on the fence, or if funding is sort of an issue for you, apply for the program, see if you get accepted, see what kind of funding you get, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to move forward, or nope, I'm not going to move.
So can I say one? Oh,
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it, Barbara.
No, finish your presentation, but okay. I would like to say something because I just got back from Ireland. Well, not just, but before the quarter. So I want to say something.
Super. And then just cost-wise, the fee for this program is $2,800. And then you also pay tuition for the 6 credit hours. It's the 4-credit focal point seminar, and then an additional 2 credits for the study abroad experience. As long as you don't go over 18 credit hours in your winter quarter, you don't have to pay extra tuition. These classes just look like regular classes on your schedule. So it's just like a normal quarter of classwork. If you do go over 18 credit hours any quarter, you have to pay extra for those extra credits that you overloaded. So just make sure to leave space in your schedule so that you don't go over 18 credit hours if you don't want to pay extra tuition. So for most students, this program fee of $2,800 is the only thing that you have to pay. That includes almost everything from your program. It's your airfare, your accommodations, it's all your breakfasts and about half of your dinners. And then all the course activities and excursions, your transportation, it covers your international travel health and accident insurance, and then a fee to our office. The things that it doesn't include are basically those other meals. So your lunches and a few other dinners and other just snacks outside of that. And then personal spending money on top of that, or things like passport or visa fees or baggage fees or things like that. But it's very all-inclusive. And as I mentioned, those scholarships range from $1,000 up to potentially almost the full cost of the program fee. So even the smallest scholarship is going to knock off more than 1/3 of the cost of the program. So we do as much as we can to try to help students who need it with that funding. And those scholarships are determined by your financial need. So we work with the financial aid office to see what your financial need is, as evidenced by the FAFSA. And we also look at your academics. You don't have a GPA now. So part of the application is uploading a transcript from your high school transcript. So we've got your high school academics, we look at your financial need, and that's how we help determine scholarships. And then the last slide I've got here is just if you have more questions, our study abroad homepage, there's a ton of information there. We have offices in the Loop and in Lincoln Park. If you have not been on the Ireland webpage yet, make sure you look at the FY Ireland webpage and take a look at all that info. And then I've got emails for me and for Barbara. I'm the one to contact if you've got questions about the application process or any of that. Barbara's a great contact if you just have questions about the program, activities you're going to do, or how the course works. Barbara, go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
Yeah,
and then
I
we'll
just
take
wanted to
questions.
say, so at the end of the summer, I did go to Ireland. And just to sort of give a COVID update on Ireland, it is 90% of the adults have been vaccinated. It's a very safe country. Hopefully by the time that spring break would come along, it'll be open completely. They were, when I went this summer, they were 60% open. There were a couple places that we couldn't get into in Dublin that were still closed, but they were planning on opening at the beginning of November. So, I think because their numbers are down, so if anybody has any concerns about international travel, I will also say that I'm assuming this will be the same. You'll need a COVID test before you go. They are requiring vaccination cards there. So you will need to have been vaccinated. But other than that, it's open. And especially where we're going, because in spring break, we travel around Ireland. And you know, Ireland, as you may or may not know, more people live outside of Ireland than live in Ireland. So there has been massive emigration from Ireland. There's a lot of open space, and I hope you saw in that video, a lot of beautiful space. And so they're quite good in their COVID numbers. That's all I wanted to say. It was beautiful. Everybody was friendly. They're looking forward. I stopped by the hotel that we stay at in Dublin, which has wonderful smoked salmon, and it's a very fun trip, I think, because it integrates a variety of types of transportation as well as types of living arrangements, and of course the sites. I think that's all. I just wanted to put that in there.
Right.
Any
Time
questions?
for questions. Yes, please throw a question in the chat, unmute yourself and speak up. We'd love to answer any questions that you've got.
No questions.
As much information as we gave you, we can't have answered every burning question that is out there. How many people, maybe we'll just do some little reactions. How many people have started an application already? If you want to give like a little thumbs up or whatever little reaction you've got. All right.
Very cool.
Great.
All
Well,
right.
hopefully this has been informative for you. If you have any questions, you know, sometimes the questions come afterwards. So feel free to email either Carrie or myself. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question about what the midterms and finals look like for the class.
Okay. Well, so the midterms and finals, you don't really have them in the traditional way of a midterm and final. This is not a fact-based course. I mean, there is fact-based information as the background, but this is really, so what we do, you have two papers where you watch film. You watch two different films about Ireland or about situations in Ireland, right? And so you write about two films. You also read Irish, or not necessarily Irish, you read travel writing, and you will be responding online in the discussions. So what we have is discussion questions, and you will write a response, and then you'll respond to somebody else's. The final project is really your itinerary project, which is your final, if you want to call it a final. It's the kind of thing that you all have written up as your group. It's a group project. And then you effectuate, meaning you do it on site. You lead the group, the rest of the group on site. So your final project is really your itinerary project of what you have to do. So you will be leading us in 2 areas: transportation. So some groups have to figure out how we're going to get from the airport to our first hotel in Dublin, or you'll take us to the site of our literary pub crawl. You'll lead the group. You'll be our group leader. That's one project. The other is an interactive project where you devise some fun activity for the rest of the class to engage in, whether we're at a museum or we have a photo I mean, you can do what you want, you devise it yourselves, but we've had photo contests, we've had ghost hunting, we've had somebody who's designed a tour. They've actually contacted a particular museum for a particular tour, and then the students have to do a scavenger hunt. So we have a lot of different, that's up to 2. As I said, we had a poetry contest, and it's fun. I mean, those are the kind of things where students just think of fun things to do and write it up for us. So that's the final project. Did that answer your question fully?
Yeah, and I have like one more thing. Like, so the scheduling will obviously vary depending on how the students make up the excursions. But is there any, like, how does the downtime look between each like day? Or like,
so there's a lot of free time on this trip. Every single night is free, except perhaps I will say the night that isn't free is the literary pub crawl, but that's early. So the night is really free. I mean, it starts at like 7 and is over at 8:30. So the night is free. Students are on their own after they do after the projects. We don't overload. We want students, because this is a travel writing class, we want you to have your experiences. There are certain places that, because they're so historically related, there are places that I want that we go as a group. Okay, so we go to the Kilmainham jail. We go to the cliffs together, but I'm not with you at the cliffs. You know, you're on your own. When we get there, you have the time to be back, and there's a lot of free time in between the activities. So there's quite of that. Did that answer? Am I frozen?
You were for a little bit, but we got most of what you said, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I froze up. It went internet connection a little unstable, so I'm sorry.
oh,
But
thank you.
hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I think a big gist of what Barbara's trying to get at too is that there's a lot of learning independence in travel and learning what it looks like for you to take on a lot of the role. Like, we're not going to be doing a lot of the work here. We'll be there to make sure you keep yourself safe, but you'll do a lot of the planning. You'll do a lot of the figuring things out. Like, once you're on your own for the night, again,
Yeah.
we'll do our best to make sure you stay safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think our only sort of feeling about that is we hope that at night you travel at least with one other person. If you saw that video, you saw that video, the group bonds. This is a very bonding trip, in my experience. I'm sure all trips are bonding, but I can just speak to Ireland that students bond in a way because we have these fun activities when we're on site. It's not really like, I don't get up there and lecture while we're there. I do add to what is going on, but there's not any there's only one formal lecture in Galway that we have somebody talk about the literature of the west of Galway, because when you get into understanding the country, you see that there was colonization. But there's no formal In fact, you students are our lecturers. You lead us and tell us a little bit. Okay, good. Any other questions? None?
Sophomores are included, right? I just
I'm
wanna
sorry, I
make
didn't
sure.
hear you.
Sophomores are included with this because of last year's COVID situation.
Yeah, that's a great question. So normally this is something that's just for first year students, but because we could not run any of these programs last year, we are allowing sophomores to apply, on a case by case kind of basis. If you have not taken your focal point seminar already, then absolutely you can apply. If you have already taken your focal point seminar, you can still apply. Yeah, did you take your focal point last year, Alex, or not?
I did not. I was waiting on this
Okay,
sort of
great.
program.
Okay. So yeah, so if you still need to fulfill your focal point experience, then absolutely, you're totally eligible, and actually you will be kind of considered on the same playing field as all the first year students. If we have sophomores who had already done their focal point, we are still accepting them applying, but we're taking a little priority on students who still need their focal point. So yeah, totally fine.
Very cool.
And as far as like course enrollment, like
Oh yeah, good question.
I was a little confused about it because like I know LSP 112 is the focal point course, but it was talking about LSP 250.
Yep. The way that it
elaborate?
works is this, and I can kind of talk to that a little bit. For these courses, first of all, you can't enroll in them yourselves. We have to actually enroll you in it from the study abroad office. So as you're doing your course scheduling for winter right now, what I tell the students is, you can do one of two things. You can just leave a space in your schedule for this, kind of crossing your fingers that you're going to get in and get a spot. Or you can register for a different focal point seminar as sort of a backup. And then once you hear you've been accepted to the program, we'll just swap you out of that. You can drop it yourself, or we'll swap you out of it and put you into this focal point seminar. But once everybody has been accepted, and once you decide that you are going to move forward with the program, our office will then register you in the LSP 112 focal point seminar, which is the 4-credit class that meets throughout the quarter. And then there's an additional 2-credit class, which is this LSP 250 class. Basically, before you even set foot on the plane, you will be completing the 4-credit focal point seminar class. This additional LSP 250 class for the 2 credits basically is your study abroad class for the time you're abroad. And it's kind of graded on basically your participation while you're there and all the different assignments that have to do with reflections and other things and presentations for your time on site. So you'll just have that extra 2 credits that will be in there as well.
And I just want to say, one of the reasons we make the class from 420 to 550 is that hopefully that will meet most students' availability. So your other classes, you can just schedule accordingly, and often we haven't had too many problems. That time slot seems to have worked for the last 7 years. Except for last year when we didn't go.
Other questions? All right. Well, if you have more questions, feel free to shoot us an email. Thank you so much for coming. If you have not started your application yet, please get going on that. Go to the program page, click apply now, get going. And I will be in a lot more touch in these coming weeks as the November 1st deadline comes up.
Yeah, and I hope to see you all, see you at some point.
All right.
Thank
you,
you
everybody.
for coming. Thank you for being interested in the program.